Hello and welcome to episode. I didn't know who was starting. Was it me, Angel?
This is a random.
It's always
right?
you. Yeah.
So it would
No,
be
sometimes
by
it's
default.
you. You counted down, so I thought it might that you start. But okay, hello and welcome to episode 272.
Yeah, if you were I don't know when was the last time I started, but
I can
just
find
like
that out
confused.
and tell you within 20 minutes of the show ending. And I will. But anyway, welcome to episode 272, everyone, of the Untitled Podcast. I'm Jason.
I'm Angel.
I am Kevin.
And maybe it's fitting that we forgot how we sequence this because we're talking about a lot of forgotten things this episode. We have impressions of Forgotten City. We have first details on Kirby and the Forgotten Land. Everything's still forgotten. We're just calling the episode Forgotten Title because, like, everything's forgotten. But, yeah, I mean, there's stuff beyond the forgetfulness, too. We have some other goodies in the form of brief impressions of an upcoming indie called The Company Man, Angels, hands-on thoughts on the Lego Mario question mark block set, a look at 35 years of Street Fighter, some other news as well. So I think it's a good episode, even if the name is forgotten and not great. And there are timestamps, of course, for all the topics over at the blog post at ramtown.com, where, yes, you will need to once again see Forgotten Title as the thing you click to then get. Wait, is it Forgotten Title or Forgotten Name? I already forgot what we're calling it. Not even kidding.
I forgot.
Okay.
This
Wow.
episode is living up to its title.
It really is, yeah. And to quickly move past that confusion of title and name, let's talk about one of the forgotten things that is sparking this whole naming scheme. And Kevin, you've been playing the Forgotten City, right? Which is
I have been playing the Forgotten City. You are right.
and it's on
Which
Switch. It's on. I was gonna say it's on Switch. It's in a cloud version.
Asterisk. Yep.
Yep.
It's on
but
Switch.
Yeah.
Asterisk. You always gotta talk about that.
Mm-hmm. So how is it?
Yeah.
What
so
is it?
it's okay. So the Forgotten City, it's this sort of, I guess, like puzzle / mystery game that apparently started off as an Elder Scrolls Skyrim mod. It starts off in the modern day, and you choose whether to play as either a male or female, and from there you get thrown into the story, where pretty much upon starting the game, you get transported to this ancient Roman city that's stuck in like a cavern of sorts that none of the residents can leave. Basically, in that city, you learn that anytime that one of its citizens commits a sin, every citizen will be turned into gold immediately, basically killing them. It's called the Golden Rule. And
Jason wouldn't last a day.
Hey.
Yeah,
I mean, you're not necessarily wrong, but hey.
Yeah. So you meet the magistrate, which is essentially the ruler of the city, or like the mayor, and he teaches you all about the rule and also lets you in on the fact that you can loop to the start of the day, like as soon as you arrive at the city. And the reason that he knows that is that he knows that the golden rule is about to be broken. So in a way, he brings you into this ancient Roman city. I forget the name of it, but essentially he tasks you with finding out who the person is that's about to commit the golden rule and essentially kill everybody. So that's your task. You go around the city to talk to like its residents to try and figure out exactly what and who is going to cause everyone to die. There's about 15-ish different characters, and they each have their own theories and conspiracies about the rules, but they also have their own like storylines, and with those storylines come like some mysteries, which essentially act as sort of side quests. And of course, you can complete them if you want, but generally completing them gives you a little bit more backstory into the characters and other characters, and can also like help you fill in like some gaps in stories, or in this story about who is about to commit the golden rule. One of the side quests, for instance, is the magistrate's daughter has gone missing. So if you want, you can try and figure out who exactly or what exactly happened to her. And so you can finish the entire story without learning that at all. I went ahead and figured out what happened to her. And it opened my eyes to some of other characters' motivations for what is going on in this story, which is really, really interesting. There's an election coming up, so you can try and help the magistrate get reelected by helping out characters who are going to vote for his opponent. But like sooner or later, you'll do something or someone will do something that will lead to the golden rule being broken. Thankfully, whenever you restart the loop, you obviously as the player have knowledge from your previous loops that'll let you just straight up skip the introductions and formalities that come up whenever you come across a character that you've already met before. So it's very streamlined. That means that you don't have to do every single thing that you did up to the breaking of the golden rule all over again. You know, and that I straight up would not play this game if I had to redo every single little thing that I did to get to that point to have to restart the loop.
That is usually the downfall for games like this, right? Like I think 12 minutes ran into that prompt. I remember hearing from reviews is, you know, you restart whatever time loop and you're stuck kind of redundantly doing similar gameplay over and over. Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to keep doing it. Yeah. Thankfully this avoids that completely. It's not a spoiler to say that the first character that you meet in the city, he will be the one to help you out with completing tasks that you've already taken care of, like right at the beginning, as soon as you meet him again, which is really, really cool. And also because of the loop and what triggers it, you'll like slowly learn more about the rule and what it exactly counts as a sin and what people are allowed to get away with, which then lets you get away with some things, you know? There's a lots of twists and turns in the game, and like you slowly realize that everyone has their own secrets or their hidden agendas. It's a very dialogue-heavy game, but thankfully each character is written incredibly well. And not only that, but the game is fully voice-acted. And just like the writing, the voice acting is really, really good. The game is mainly about narrative, but there are some action sequences and some parts that are horror light, but it's nothing crazy for either of those sequences. This isn't a spoiler because I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, they tell you up front, but there are multiple endings. I've seen 2 of them. One of them, which is explicitly called by the developers the canonical ending. It took me 3 hours to get the first ending and an extra 2 to get to the true canon ending, so it's a pretty short game. And like we said at the top, a big thing to consider is that there's only this cloud version, so of course the entire experience is going to be based on your internet connection. But like I said, this isn't an action game, so it's not like a Twitch shooter where reaction times are like you have to have like a super quick reaction time, and there's nothing delay based, nothing like that. Like I said, there is like some actiony parts of the game. There's some platforming, but nothing that requires like a 1-to-1 0 millisecond input lag input kind of thing. So yeah, it's not going to kill you. That's the Forgotten City. Really enjoyed it. Nice change of pace from the type of games that I play. I definitely recommend it for those who love like a very good video game narrative, and the fact that it's short, I'm sure will entice some people to get into it too.
Can you like feel the roots of it being a mod, being a Skyrim mod? Like, does it feel kind of Skyrim-y, or did they manage to like actually move it past that? Now that's a freestanding.
Oh, it's got some of the Skyrim jank for sure. And whenever you come up to a character, it does that thing where, well, the whole entire game's in first person, but it's just that thing where whenever you talk to a character, it will like zoom into their faces, and then the background will be slightly blurred, and then then you got your dialogue options, your dialogue trees that you choose from. Yeah, but aside from that, there's you can't really. I wouldn't know that this was a Skyrim mod, if I played it. Not that this is necessarily a Skyrim mod. Skyrim has a mod that is basically this game. This is its own version, so you don't need Skyrim to play it.
Right.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be able to tell that's a Skyrim mod. But knowing that, I can definitely be like, okay, yeah, this is a Skyrim mod.
You can see this the framework, the strings being pulled.
Yeah,
it's interesting because like I can't think of a time that a game. Well, I guess that's not true. There's been other mods that have taken off, like Counter-Strike stuff and whatnot. But it's very rare that a game gets a mod that becomes its own game that then is published and developed by a completely different company that has no connection back to the source. You know what I mean? Like, because this isn't... Bethesda has nothing to do with this,
I think it is developed by the same people. I'm not sure who's publishing the game, though.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
It
Definitely
might
a
be
rarity on a
self-published,
Nintendo
but
system to have a modded game kind of as a standalone thing like this.
on a Nintendo system, asterisk. You always
Yes,
gotta,
with an
always gotta
asterisk
do that.
on a server that's feeding bits into a Nintendo system.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But interesting, yeah, because this one came out in, like, I think it was like end of September. It was like the week of a Nintendo Direct or something, and there was like not a blip of, like, there's no coverage of it whatsoever from Nintendo. But it's interesting because it sounds like a really kind of unique experience for the Switch.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many games of this caliber there are on the
Right.
Switch. I'm sure there's a lot of narrative games, but nothing necessarily to this degree where you have, the city isn't huge. It's not the size of, let's say, I can't think of like a big open world that has it's almost sort of like a hub world.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it'd be the size of an average open world games hub world. Yeah, I'd say that, but it's not like this massive open world.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, I need to try these cloud versions eventually. I mean, my Switch sits literally a foot from my router, so I'm not really worried about the connection. But like this or like Guardians of the Galaxy, I've heard good things about in general, not necessarily the
Really
Switch
shocked
version.
you haven't tried a demo of a cloud version like the Control one. Like I have.
Yeah.
I had no interest in trying Control, but I just did it just because I wanted to see what playing a game, running on the cloud was like, and
I
it
think
was a
I
lot
was
better than I thought it was.
Yeah, I think I was considering Control.
Played way better than I thought it was going to play. I was impressed by it, actually.
I should just try Guardian, shouldn't I? I've heard such good things about the story, or even Forgotten City, like these narrative-driven ones where like I'm gonna probably be
and then
playing.
you can talk about
in
in the
one
next
place.
episode.
That's true. Look at that, seeding content.
Yeah, synergy and all that.
Yeah, I should try it. It is weird. I remember with Control, I didn't do it just because they had like a server queue. Like I remember when it first came out because everyone wanted to try it. Like you download it and be like, you can play in like an hour, or at least that's what I saw people saying on Twitter. And I was like, I don't want to wait, so I just never did it, which makes zero sense. But oh well. Anyway, well that's cool, Kevin. That might be one worth checking out. Forgotten City. While we're talking about what we've been playing, I have a game I wanted to touch on too, although it is just a demo at this point. But about a week ago, Nintendo's Indie World Twitter account showcased a game called The Company Man that caught my eye. Pretty much based on the premise alone, which is essentially
based on one of my favorite YouTube channels that literally called The Company Man.
No, this is based.
They posted new.
Go ahead.
Actually, I'll save that for a random Nintendo. But
I mean, you already started. At least finish the thought.
No, he's saving it for my podcast.
Oh, your podcast. Okay.
Yep.
Now the truth is out to the public. There's a rivalry within RN of which RN is the RN. But yes, no, The Company Man in this case, it is essentially a platformer themed around the idea of like office revenge fantasy. So you're a low-level employee named Jim, which the developers have said is a reference to The Office. But yeah, you're this guy Jim, and he decides to overthrow his company's management by working his way up the corporate ladder. Not through, good work ethic or dedication to assignments or whatever, but by literally platforming his way through levels full of bad coworkers and beating bosses in boss fights. So in the demo, you start at like the lowest level of the company's totem pole. You're in human resources and are trying to kind of bob and weave around coworkers who have bad breath, meaning they shoot fire, and interns who are falling from the sky as obstacles that you have to dodge because, interns are disposable. And over the course of the level, you start to actually learn that management is literally pumping out interns from a machine, which you end up breaking in a boss fight with the manager for that floor, who uses, if I remember correctly, I think he uses his computer mouse as a whip. And you, by the way, are armed with a keyboard as a sword in a kind of weird literal take on Keyboard Warrior. But at the end of the level, you're then granted, right as the demo ends, a Mega Man-style blaster projectile ability called Email Blast, because you are literally shooting out emails, much like an email marketer would. So you can kind of see, like, they really are leaning into the theme of it all being just kind of poking fun at offices and having fun with some of the wordplay and the puns and whatnot, which, of course, is right up my alley. They also have the whole game in kind of this nice 2D, I think, hand-drawn art style, and there's all sorts of little tie-ins to kind of bring back the theme of you're in an office in the corporate world. It's like you have coffee breaks to restore health. There are destructible walls made from piles of paperwork. There are different types of coffee you can find. You can brew different coffees for different stamina and health enhancements. But I think what really clicked with me about the game is that it plays so much like a throwback to the NES and maybe specifically the Super NES era of platformers, like that period where everyone needed to make a platformer. So we had all these weird ones around like animals, like, Air the Acrobat, or like mascots from soda cans, like Cool Spot had a platformer from 7-Up. And, gameplay wise, I feel like the Company Man is right in there. You're identifying enemy and boss patterns, you're using different power-ups in the form of your, office-themed upgrades and weapons. You're doing some platforming challenges with like a boost move, all that typical stuff you'd see in platformers of that era. Oops, I almost knocked my water over. But yeah, the difference here is that in a way, the game kind of knows you're older now and that you're in the workforce. So it's not like fuzzy animals or quote unquote like cool mascots. It's, reflecting and parodying the more mundane reality of what adult life is, offices, corporate world, all that. And the demo is just this one HR level, which is kind of like, I guess, fire and like mechanical, like steampunk themed. But I was reading up a bit, and it sounds like they do the whole trope of different themed worlds just around corporate life. So accounting, for example, that level is an ice level. In the game, it's because they have high AC, but on a parody level, accounting has a reputation of being some of the coldest people in a company because they have to deal with the money. So they're very like terse and direct and that sort of thing. So they have the cold level, or, even how you're able to boost your health and stamina with the coffee bean system that I was mentioning before. Like that's a familiar idea. It's just themed well within this. So it was just kind of a fun twist on what we grew up with that sort of platformer. The question is going to be, how much variety is there within this theme in terms of new platforming elements and new mechanics? But I think it's out like this week or next. So it won't take long to get an answer for that. It might actually be out by the time some people listen to this. I literally think it comes out in the next couple of days. But it's just one of those games to have on your radar, especially since the one reveal it got on the Indie World Twitter was so much lower key than a proper Indie World Showcase appearance or something of that sort, which actually, that's a weird thing I've noticed these last couple of weeks. At least since they did the last Indie World Showcase. Like in our last round Nintendo, I was saying it kind of felt that showcase felt a little samey at times. Like they leaned more on games that were emotion heavy and had some similar art styles and gameplay. We highlighted last episode some exceptions like Locomotive and things like that. And that's totally fine. There's a huge audience for games that are cut from that cloth. But then on the Indie World Twitter, they started showing off kind of more different stuff. Like, the company name was there. There's another game called Pop Slinger, which is described as a musical shooter. Like you run around in kind of a beat 'em up game, side-scrolling view, but with a bit more freedom of movement. You have a soda gun to shoot enemies, and it's all set to like city pop, like subgenre of music, and has an art style that looks kind of like you're playing an old VHS tape of a cartoon. So it's like a cartoon aesthetic, but then with like the kind of gritty scanline thing on top of it. And, maybe these games only showed up on the Twitter and not on the showcase because maybe they're not as of high a quality in the end or something. Like even watching Pop Slinger's trailer, the game feels almost too zoomed in on the character. Like I'm not even playing, but just watching it felt potentially like you're too zoomed in. But to not even include these tiles, the Company Man or this, in like the sizzle reel in the showcase, that just felt odd to me. And I don't know, I guess it's just a missed opportunity because like the Indie World Twitter has about 50,000 followers. I looked at Pop Slinger's view count on that tweet, had 5,000 views on the trailer. Meanwhile, the showcase is sitting there on Nintendo's 8 million subscriber channel with just shy of 1 million views on that showcase alone. It's just like, why not throw a bone? If you think it's interesting enough to highlight 2 weeks later, why not just stick it in the sizzle reel? Like, I don't know. But anyway, that was supposed to be about the Company Man demo. It went a little beyond that. But yeah, that's Company Man. Might be worth keeping an eye on. Yeah, so that's what I've been playing. Angel, your turn. What have you been playing? Or I guess maybe building, because you have the Legos. But did you play anything too? Or
Yeah, I haven't really played anything new. I mean, I have actually gone back to Monster Hunter and I've been playing that a lot with some coworkers. Reliving some, like finally getting through some main bosses, going through the DLC missions, which has been really fun. Finally got myself my Rush mount and my Amaterasu mount, and damn, that Rush mount is super awesome. Like whenever you get that sprint going and he just starts flying, man, they did a great job. But besides that, yeah, the only new Nintendo thing I've done recently is finally getting around to building the question mark block that Jason actually got me for Christmas, which was a very fun build. I don't remember the last time I built a Lego set. We normally don't really have too many Lego sets, and if I have built one, it was definitely a smaller one. I mean, the last one I bought was definitely a Ninja Turtle one. We have like most of the Ninja Turtle Lego set line, but they're all still boxed. I don't even know where we would put them if we built them. But something that I've come to really appreciate about Lego in general It's just that not only, it's the final product and really impressive, but the build process itself just feels very intentional, and they made it fun. Like they make you build things in a specific order so that as as the project goes on, more and more is revealed. You're not just stuck building one side of it the whole time. It kind of jumps around to different parts to keep things fresh. The steps are, at least in this one, weren't that complicated. I mean, it's a giant cube, but slowly putting together the mechanisms that causes, in case you haven't seen this one, it's a giant question mark block that has 3 Super Mario 64 worlds in it, in addition to Peach's Castle. And each of those has like little Easter eggs, because if you recall from, I'm guessing whenever Jason talked about his NES set and TV that he built for Lego, yeah, they love putting in their Easter eggs. And as you're building them, there are some things that you will notice that you're like, oh, like in this one, for example, there was a part that it felt like they were trying to create like an ice flower for some reason. Like it just had like the blue ring around, the white ring in the middle, and kind of like a green stem. And that's completely hidden in the build. It's just like you see it for one layer and then it's gone, which is cool. But it's like a nice little thing. But then you also have like other hidden compartments that it just makes this piece really fun to show off. Because, someone comes in, you open it up, you press a panel, and then bloop, this whole mechanism flips around and you see the 3 Mario 64 worlds and you see the castle. And that alone is already like a sight to behold, especially if you played a ton of Super Mario 64 like I did. And you'll instantly recognize like a lot of the little level detail, like, oh, you look at the lava land. Oh, they bothered to put the rolling log. They have the Mr. Eye in the right spot. They have the Bowser jigsaw puzzle. They have the volcano. Like, everything's there. And then you go to Cool Mountain and, like, you see the chimney where you're supposed to go in to find the big slide. And sure enough, you can remove the side of the mountain and the slide is actually built in there. You also have the snowman. You have the penguins. And, like, every level just has, like, little neat, just neat little details like that I guess like real fans will really, really appreciate. And even if you're not a big fan of the game, it's still a really fun build. And I'm sure even just looking it up to seeing what it's referencing, as well as, reading through the instruction booklet, which goes into a lot about the history of the game, just some details. Like they acknowledge that the N64 block, that the question mark block isn't in Mario 64, which was definitely my biggest gripe with it. But that was before I got it. And at the end of the day, I guess the answer was that it's just too iconic not to make a Lego set out of. But yeah, they could have easily picked a block from Mario 64, but it sounds like it's not really guaranteed that they're going to get to do more of these sets or what the next set will be like. So, if they had to pick one block, you kind of have to go with the question mark block, which, yeah, I'm totally good with. Even right now, the way I just have it displayed, it's just the block is on top of my shelf and I just have a decently sized Bowser figure on top of it. And if I ever want to play with it, I could just remove that Bowser figure. So, just as a question mark block, it's really awesome. But, yeah, and honestly, I feel like price-wise, it feels pretty fair for everything that you get, for how durable it is, especially for how delicate the mechanisms feel. It's not going to break anytime soon. Like, you could actually be kind of rough with it. You could literally just, like, flick the compartment so that it flips over and it won't break. It's pretty impressive. And, yeah, because of that, I just suddenly got into, like, a little building phase. Like, I bought myself a Lego bonsai tree, and I built that. And then I finally got around to building a Woody and Buzz model kit that a friend had given me for my birthday. No, for Christmas. No, oh my god, it was for my birthday. Wow, that was a long time ago. And it just
also, technically, the Lego block from me was also for your birthday. Very delayed. It wasn't Christmas.
Oh yeah, it was like a. Yeah. Oh, you're right. It was for birthday.
Yeah.
We kind of double teamed that one, but it was a very awesome gift. Thank you again, Jason.
Oh yeah, no problem.
And I definitely recommend it if it's still available. It almost makes me want to get the NES and TV set, but
I think
honestly, the only thing holding me back from it. Huh?
I think it might be available. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the block is available. I don't know if the other one is. Like, I still keep getting tempted once in a while, but I might hold off. On top of just not having any space to put it, anywhere. I just need to wait for them to release all the sets. I don't want to get it and then they make a Super Nintendo one because I have no nostalgia for an NES. So yeah, I feel like it would be like a shame if I got that and then something else came out later. I don't want to have that retroactive FOMO.
Yeah, I guess that's what it would be.
Yeah, then I'll be left like.
I did check,
but we'll see. Maybe we'll still get the giant Bowser's Castle set. Just make it like the Hogwarts one or the Disney Castle one. I don't care if it's costs a couple hundreds. Like, oh my god, the AT-AT that I saw at Downtown Disney the other day was like $700. But it's also really huge. Seeing it built in front of me was, my god, I don't know what people do with it. It looks amazing. Like, I'm sure it's really fun to build, but damn, that thing it's just like those giant statues that you see at Comic-Con that you wonder what person actually buys these because they look really awesome, but they're just huge. Like, damn.
I mean, you're describing what held me back from getting the Lego, like from getting the question mark block for myself, which is I couldn't figure out where to put that big cube. Like the Lego NES, I know you're saying you couldn't find space for it, but really it's a TV and it's a system and it's a controller, so they could be a little adaptable. You can put them across different shelves. You can, there's a little flexibility there, but like a big old yellow block, that's been my holdup at this point. It's just where do I put a big old yellow block? So it's funny that we have the exact problem.
Because you know where to put it aesthetically, or you just don't have...
A little aesthetically.
Because my issue is surface space, not so much aesthetically.
It's a mix of aesthetically and surface space.
I'll make it work.
It's both, really. But yeah, it's just funny that we have the exact same issue with polar opposite directions. But for those wondering, it is technically still available, the Lego NES. It is, quote, hard to find, according to Lego's own website, and they don't have it on their website, but resellers may still have it. So, like official resellers, not scalpers. So that's where that's at. But the question mark block comes and goes. They last had in stock on January 1st, which is also when they rolled out, speaking of other sets, the Sonic Green Hill Zone Lego set. Like, video games are really having a Lego moment, I feel like. And
my brother does have on hand right now. I don't know when he's going to build it, but he does.
Oh, he does have it. It's cool. It's cool. It's like, cause like, I feel like with Nintendo, Lego and Nintendo are making such an effort of like, it has to be different. It can't just be a Lego recreation or something. So it's like, oh, like it's a model of a TV. It's not just Mario. Oh, it's Lego Mario as an interactive experience. Oh, it's this block that unfolds and has worlds in it. Like the Sonic one was just straight up, here's Green Hill Zone, here's Sunny Emmys, here's Lego-fied forms of Eggman and Sonic and whatnot, and the Chaos Emeralds, and it's like $70 opposed to the 160 whatever 69 it is for the Nintendo ones by comparison. So yeah, it's like whatever your budget and whatever your cup of video game tea, they seem to have a Lego set for it now. And the Sonic one's cool because, if I'm not mistaken, it came from Lego Ideas, which means a fan designed it, at least the rough version. Then it got enough votes for Lego to go to Sega and be like, let's do this. And then Sega was like, okay, sure. So props to the Sonic fans for making that happen, I guess.
Magic.
But yeah, is anyone else noticing that, like, games, like, as an IP are, like, the thing now? I mean, it's been a while, obviously, of video games moving into IPs, but I mean, like, we have 3 video game movies coming out this year. Uncharted, Sonic 2, and Mario. We have, like, The Witcher and Arcane being some of the biggest shows on Netflix. Like, it feels like it took a while. There's some momentum. It started happening with, like, Sonic 1 and Detective Pikachu, but we're finally at the point where, like, games have really, like, crossed over to be multimedia properties in the way that, like, comics have been for a while. This just being maybe the latest example, the Lego block. But just observing.
The Lego block?
Yeah, your Lego block. Your Lego question mark block.
Oh, yeah.
But just observing, just thinking out loud. But while we're talking about things that are sort of tangential to Nintendo's own releases, can I talk about that Bidoof short for a moment? Did you guys watch this the other day, Bidoof's big stand?
No, I refuse to support Bidoof propaganda, so...
Oh, well, this is super propaganda. I mean, first of all, Kevin, I'm guessing you didn't see it either, huh?
No, I didn't see it.
Okay.
Out of, what's the word?
Respect for yourself?
Let's go with that one.
We're going to say in solidarity with Angel.
Might have been a little bit meaner.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, okay. Well, you guys missed out. Because first of all, for those who haven't seen it, it was an 8-minute little mini animated short starring Bidoof. And of course, I like it because Bidoof's in it, and I have no respect for myself, apparently. But in of itself, it's a well-done short. Like, good animation, surprisingly touching premise about this outcasted Bidoof who kind of finds himself. It's all done with no dialogue. It has a lot of the quality of the, like, I don't know, the shorts that would run before a Disney or Pixar movie. But the reason I mention it...
Wait, did you by chance get to watch it with Rachel?
No, I haven't yet. I watched it while she wasn't home because I needed to really have
I'm
privacy for that
with
moment.
Someone that... I guess I'm just curious with someone that doesn't have a mental and spiritual connection to Bidoof.
So she may not have a mental and spiritual connection to Bidoof, but she does understand my mental and spiritual connection, and as such would never... I can't see her watching and be like, that was bad. I mean, she supported me getting a Bidoof shirt, a Bidoof poster, just Bidoof in life in general.
I think I'm going to have to show the short to my sister in that case. Let's see what she thinks about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll show it to Rachel and we can we could have a post-podcast powwow about the adjacent people in our lives' thoughts on the Bidoof short.
Mm-hmm.
But
what is an unbiased view of this?
Well, so I admit I'm biased because here's the thing: the reason I want to mention it is not just because as a Bidoof fan I liked it, but as like a day one Bidoof diehard, which is a thing I just said out loud, and I can't believe I said that. I noticed that whether intentional or not, the short actually has this whole second layer to it where it doubles as an allegory for Bidoof's own rise to prominence within the Pokemon franchise. And I'm sure nobody cares about this, and nobody knows this, and it probably wasn't intentional. But what's a podcast if not a platform to dive into these deeper, thought-provoking analyses, right? So, allow me to...
Exactly, and I'm sure one podcast will do that one day.
And it will be ours, and it'll be right now. Let me expound on that for this whole idea for a moment, please. And this part will... I can't believe I'm about to say this. It will contain spoilers for a Bidoof animated short. So if you need to pause this and go watch it, go for it. We'll link to the blog post at Nintendo.com, or we'll link to the video in the blog post at Nintendo.com for this episode. And Angel, Kevin, I apologize for A, the spoilers you might get, and B, I just apologize in advance for what's about to happen to you and what you're going to have to hear. But it all begins with the first frame of the short, which is Pikachu. You see... I can't believe I'm doing this. But you see, the short starts with the most popular Pokemon, who quickly gets startled and hides from a Bidoof going by, many Bidoof, in fact, perhaps representing that the Pokemon Company was introducing this, new star Pokemon, and it was one of the few times that Pikachu felt threatened, right? So what we quickly realize, however, in the short, is that Bidoof is actually not on par with his peers. In the short, that's represented by one try-hard Bidoof doing his absolute best, but all the Bidoof around him finding him problematic. In the same way that, in Diamond and Pearl, when they first debuted in those games, Bidoof technically was the best for all your HM needs. He was called an HM slave for a reason, but was still held back from being a star by being Bidoof. Like, many felt he didn't have any good qualities. Even if he was good for HMs, there was nothing good about him beyond that stat-wise. It's just bad. So he's quickly ostracized and outcasted, I guess you could say. In the short, that takes the form of separating him from the herd. He's no longer with his other Bidoofs. He's then judged by 2 wild Piplups. He's then chased by a swarm of Starlies and eventually a Staraptor, which easily can be representations for how the early fandom received him. Some found him annoying and wanted nothing to do with him, much like some people probably feel right now as I'm talking, and that is represented with the Piplups. Others heckled him, like the Starlies chasing him. Others were angered by how worthless he was perceived outside of carrying HMs, which is, like why there's our Staraptor screeching at him. Much like perhaps fans screeched with laughter, let's say, at the idea of Bidoof being a good Pokemon. But fortunately, this is where things start to turn around for our protagonist Bidoof and Bidoof in the Pokemon franchise. He's discovered by a trainer in the short, and specifically the trainer's Lucario. Now, Lucario, arguably, I still can't believe I'm doing this, is a representation of a late bloomer to the Pokemon franchise, right? Like, how is it possible for a Pokemon introduced in later games, such later games, to become a fan favorite as fast as Lucario has done and transcend to the level of being a Smash Bros. Fighter? So here's Lucario meeting Bidoof, and the trainer in the short, he's the one that puts Bidoof through the grind of becoming a good Pokemon. He never gave up on him. He's constantly putting him into new situations where he has to use his HMs in creative ways, or in the real life parallel.
Put him through the grinder instead of the grind.
What? Oh, ouch! No, bad. No. Bidoof deserves all the praise.
Are Bidoofs edible?
You looked that up while I finished my parallels here, because in real life, you could say the trainer and the Lucario.
Nothing on Google about Bidoofs being edible.
Wait, did you Google it? What's the answer?
There's nothing on it.
Good. Honestly, that it raises a question. As a Bidoof fan, would I want...
Are beavers edible?
As a Bidoof fan, would I want some of Bidoof inside me? Would I want to eat a Bidoof? It's a real question. Do I want to get closer to him in that physical way? I don't know. But anyway, so in the short...
Beaver meat is not only edible, but the tail is considered a delicacy.
Well, here's the problem, Kevin.
So
hold on.
Theoretically, Bidoofs would be edible.
Problem is, Bidoof is not actually a beaver. According to the Pokedex, he is a plump mouse Pokemon, which makes no sense based on his teeth, but that's what they say.
Well, he evolved into a beaver, so I guess...
All right, so we can eat his next... Yeah, but no one cares about his next form. Bidoof is pure in his first stage. Anyway, back to my parallels, right? So in the I still can't believe I do this. In the animated short, the trainer kind of gets him good, essentially. And in real life, you can say that grind that you see the trainer do in the short, that was the small contingent of Pokemon fans who liked Bidoof, the one trainer who actually liked him in the short, and they liked him early on. They put him in fan art. They made those God Bidoof memes. They generally, kind of grinded slow and steady to raising his profile among the broader fan base. And then finally, in the short, there's the big fight. The big Pokemon battle that trainer's been training him for, in which Bidoof ends up becoming the last Pokemon standing and ultimately wins the match and the crowd's, aka the fans' affection. And he seals the deal, so to speak, by getting a high five he so desperately wanted throughout the short from the trainer at the very end of the short. And that final high five, that's the re-embrace by the Pokemon Company. That's the merch, that's the dedicated day of the year, that's all the game appearances. Like, Bidoof wanted to be a star, he had the abilities to become a star, it just took a longer path. The help of a trainer, aka some fans who saw potential in him for it to all finally happen. And now here we are with a Bidoof short and my way too long analysis of what it represents. And it's all because, like in Bidoof's big stand, Bidoof was finally able to stand tall. So thus concludes my TED Talk. Thank you for coming. I'll take questions out in the lobby. And I apologize for what you just had to listen to. I've been thinking about this for like 5 days.
What does beaver meat taste like? You can eat beaver meat and it's very good. Okay, I like the fact that in the Pokemon world they have really delicious edible Pokemon in the form of Bidoof.
As long as I heard in different parts of that sentence, I like and Bidoof, like the middle part doesn't matter. You said I like and you said Bidoof, so I'll take it as a win.
They probably also like use they're like, do they have hides or
I don't. No, they're
hides?
like
They're
fuzzy. I think. I don't think they have like.
Okay, I'm sure they make great carpets too.
Wow. Okay. Wow. I don't know how I feel about that. That both is something I would want, is a house full of Bidoof decor, but also I wouldn't want to kill a Bidoof. Well, so as that all was.
Think about it.
As ridiculous as it all was, and I admit I just needed to get that off my chest, so thank you for putting up with that. It is actually a good transition to the news segment of this episode, because, we were talking about games, and that kind of led us into Bidoof somehow, but all the news this episode centers around 2022 starting to come into focus a bit. And while we know Nintendo...
Okay, hold up.
Yes?
Hold up. Let me pick a bone with you real quick.
Yes.
Did you choose this PC Mag article on purpose?
Why?
Or was it just a coincidence?
Why? What's it say?
Why.
No, I don't.
Open
what are you
it.
talking? For Pokemon Legends Arceus or for Bidoof?
Yeah.
Do they reference Bidoof? I actually didn't. I just...
Open the article.
I'm getting it. Hang on. Is the screenshot of Bidoof? It's loading. Oh my god, the lead image is Bidoof. I did not choose this on purpose. To be honest, I just Googled for a good article.
You're full of it. You absolutely chose this on purpose.
I wish. No, so basically what happened is because the video was just like a random YouTube video, but no, it didn't have a synopsis. I looked for an article that summarized the video a bit, so when we link to it in the blog post for anyone who wants, there's a bit more information on it. I didn't even notice Bidoof in the lead image. That was just that was just one of the better articles. But I will proudly take it.
What a coincidence.
Much like how, the first news story is also a coincidence, because what I started to say is 2022... a lot of games coming. We didn't really know anything outside of one game, which was Pokemon Legends Arceus, which Bidoof is in. That's the only one that had a concrete date or details. And even then, like this past week, they put out this video, and it's kind of interesting how closely Nintendo is still, to this moment, playing Legends to the chest. Can you guys recall any other Pokemon game where we know this little going into its release? We're 2 weeks out. We don't know the deeper... I don't know.
No, and it's refreshing.
It is. No, I like it. Yes. It actually makes it kind of exciting, because the fact that we don't know it all is weirdly almost the most exciting, because it's been so long. Pokemon's been formulaic, or it's been a spin-off. So the fact that we're going in a little blind, I'm pretty excited to check it out as a result. But the video did shed a little light on it, but it's very surface level. So what we know from the video, it was 13 minutes long. It outlined the gameplay, it claims. But what they only really explained is the gameplay loop of you're not just catching Pokemon in the wild to fill out this regional Pokedex in this ancient version of Sinnoh, but you're doing it multiple times over to document certain states of Pokemon, almost in like a Pokemon Snap photo challenge kind of way. And then within that whole system, there are some alpha Pokemon, which are going to be harder to find versions of some Pokemon, and they're physically bigger. And then there are noble Pokemon, which are sort of like big boss fights where you first need to stun them, then you hop into battle. And battle can be turn-based, like in normal Pokemon games, but has this added layer of agile and strength attacks with kind of this risk-reward system of, do you go first or do you go second with a stronger attack, and how will the enemy respond, and what's that mean for your next turn and damage taken that you take. And then there's this other thing they've kind of alluded to, which are wardens, which are supposedly like the gym leaders of the region, but I guess they're just assigning you different things. I don't really know. Like, it's unclear what ties it all together, even though we have a 13-minute video sitting in front of us that supposedly says it. And yeah, on the one hand, I guess that's kind of exciting. But I had this weird thought in the back of my mind of what if that's it? What if the entire game is you go into these seemingly half-empty open areas, because they don't look very populated in the video, and you just find Pokemon, you throw a Pokeball at them, and then if they don't go into the ball initially, then you battle them, and then you go back, and then you do it again, and that's it. Because that's only, a third of the Pokemon experience in the regular games. There's still trainer battles and other aspects. Like, is there online battles? It doesn't seem like it. You can trade. So, like, I don't know. It's both refreshing and also kind of like, what are they doing? What should we expect? What's going to happen? So it's an interesting middle ground we're kind of in. But it's nice for once to not have everything so far in advance, I would say. And I know, Angel, you always hated when Nintendo did that.
Yeah, it's just a shame that they're not doing that for a game I'm planning on getting.
Yeah, like I imagine, Kevin, where are you at with Legends? Because I know initially you weren't thinking of getting it.
I mean, it's definitely looking more and more interesting. The thing is, I'm just still not that big of a Pokemon fan to grab this. And considering that it's an open world game, it's going to take up a lot of my time. I already have way too many games to play, so I don't see myself picking this up. Unfortunately, it does look cool though.
Yeah, that's fair. And I'm getting Monster Hunter vibes from it.
Yeah,
I don't know if you guys have, but
and like I said earlier, since I already have Monster Hunter, it's like. Yeah, and as someone that's never really gotten into the Pokemon franchise, as well.
I'm sorry, did you say you didn't get into the Pokemon franchise? You?
Yep. You know me. Angel never played Pokemon before. So
yeah, that is both not your name and also not at all true about you. Well, let me ask you this. What is the gameplay loop of Monster Hunter? It's kind of similar, right? You go out, you get the monster, you come back, you're assigned another monster, you go out, you get it, right? Is there anything deeper than that? Because it seems like if Pokemon's just that, it's just doing Monster Hunter. Or if Legends is just that.
In a nutshell, I mean, I guess that's all it really is, but, I mean, I guess if you want to get more nitty-gritty, I guess the parts that get deeper are just the level of, I guess, complexity that comes with the armor you build and the weapons you build and how you upgrade them and, pretty much, I guess, how much you can make your hunter feel your own. Not to mention the fact that, every weapon makes the game feel like a completely different game. Mm-hmm. Using the longsword versus the blade versus the insect glaive. It's all completely different, and I don't know how different. I guess we don't know.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll see how different going into one with each Pokemon will feel. Because, are you controlling the Pokemons directly?
No.
Or are you just instructing them? Because it might get a level of sameness if it's the latter.
You are instructing them when you choose to battle. So there's two ways to do it. You either sneak up on Pokemon, and you do it. There's a crafting system. So maybe there's upgrades like you're describing, but you sneak up on Pokemon and you throw a Pokeball. If they get caught the first go-around, cool. If not, you then have the opportunity to battle them in a turn-based battle like normal Pokemon. And that's it. Supposedly. I mean, we'll see in a couple of weeks, but that's kind of all they've said. And it's unclear, what the wardens do in terms of progressing the story and what you're doing for them. And, because there's also side quests for other characters, but all they do is also have you go get Pokemon. Like, the example in the video was, someone wanted to see, a Shinx's ears up close, so you go catch him a Shinx. And that's it. So it's just I don't know, how much variety there is over just go get this Pokemon, now go get that Pokemon. But we'll find out. It's nice to be in the dark for once, weirdly. So I'll have impressions in a few weeks' time, since I guess I'm the only one buying it. And, even if you're not getting Legends, there's still plenty of other games, the next of which Nintendo has now officially confirmed is going to be Kirby and the Forgotten Land, which weirdly, exact day and date with a year ago when they showed Super Mario 3D World's trailer that debuted Bowser's Fury mode. Nintendo, now a year later, put out a trailer that showed the first real gameplay details on Kirby and the Forgotten Land, which is now dated for March 25th, 2022, so just about 2 months from now. Did you guys see this trailer?
Yes.
What'd you think?
I did. I don't think I'm gonna get it, at least not right away. Doesn't look bad, but I don't know. Nothing really hooked me. I don't know why. It just seemed like a
Kirby game.
When I saw it, I was just like, I don't know if I have time for this right now. It just felt like a simplified like Mario 64. I mean, like Mario Odyssey, but
yeah, which is funny because that's kind of the two.
But that's just kind of all Kirby games.
No, but this one's more Odyssey than that because you have these two main mechanics, which is one, you transform like in Mario Odyssey, and there's two new transformations they showed: a drill that lets you briefly burrow under enemies, and a ranger that lets you shoot a gun. Kirby's got a gun now, but you could do that. Or the other mechanic, and I guess the other mechanic is you have to collect these Waddle Dees that are scattered around these worlds, and the more Waddle Dees you get, the more you build up your kind of Waddle Dee town and unlock more stuff. So that to me sounds like the Power Moon collecting. So it really is kind of like Diet Odyssey. Which, Angel, you're somewhat famous around these podcast parts for not being the biggest fan of the whole Power Moon collecting in Odyssey. So that might even shy away more from this.
Nah, I mean, the only reason I was down on the moon collecting is because it was just an excess. Like, you don't need to have 900 collectible moons. I felt like if they had just stuck with, like, I don't know, a more generous number, I mean, a more reasonable number, like 200 or 300. Because there were some cleverly placed moons. There were a lot of moons that were just like, oh, this is like how they would design like a power star getting collected. But then there were just so many superfluous ones that just ended up making everything feel less special and less, I don't know, just more of a chore to play. It just felt like a chore at the end. Normally, like, I enjoy the process of 100%ing Mario games, but towards the end, like, this one just ended up making me feel, it just kind of soured the experience a little towards the end. Because it just wasn't fun. It was just monotonous and uninspired.
Right.
But
Fair.
But,
how about you, Kevin? Where you stand with Forgotten Land here?
You know what it reminded me of? It looked, it might have just been the camera, but it definitely gave me 3D Land, 3D World vibes more than it did Odyssey vibes.
In terms of like
which
layout,
I really like those games, so that's a good sign. It definitely does look like it has its charm, but am I picking it up? Hard to say. I'm definitely leaning into more shorter games, considering the amount of games that I play that just take forever to complete or don't complete, like Apex. So I think I might just wait until I see like a runtime, and then go from there.
That's reasonable. Yeah, I think I'm actually kind of torn on where the whole thing stands with me now. Because like on the positive side, what I think is cool with Forgotten Land is they're actually like finally moving the series past Kirby just being a game, like clearly like if you played any of the traditional Kirby games, not the spin-offs, the regular platformer ones, you kind of knew the drill and they stuck to that very closely. Kirby has abilities. You use them in platformer levels that are very linear in fashion, side-scrolling most of the time. You maybe get to do some co-op with a friend who also has abilities. This game has that too. And if you need a break, there's a menu screen or two with all these little side games and mini games you can play that have ranging depth that sometimes is enough to even be spun off into their own individual eShop games 2 or 3 years later. So that's kind of been like the formula, and it's worked very well for like 20 years. But it does feel like it's about time, and it's nice to see that how Nintendo progressed things a little. Like it all feels a bit more organic. Levels may or may not be as linear in progression because they are in that 3D land world setup, and even between the levels, all the marketing materials are pointing to finding every Waddle Dee being a bit more of a challenge that could have you playing levels out of order or going back to levels or doing whatever than just point A to B. And those Waddle Dees, as you collect them, further develop this town that doubles as your main hub. So instead of it just being like a menu, there's actually different structures that open, different characters you talk to, and then their games are introduced. And it feels more like tied in than just, here's a game that has a game in it, and then these other mini games in it, and then there's this button to turn on co-op, and that's it. Like, so it's kind of nice that's a little more like connected, like there's like connective tissue through all the different aspects of it. They even said that there are two mini games they confirmed. There's a fishing one, and and there's some high score recipe making game in the Waddle Dee Cafe. It's like, it is nice to see like the bits and pieces of normal Kirby be kind of introduced and mixed and matched in different ways. They're also taking a page from like New Super Mario Bros. 2 of all things by having a universal Waddle Dee count where everyone playing the game with an online connection can contribute to the global total of Waddle Dees saved, which is pretty much what they did with the global coin total in New Mario 2. Plus, they're also going to do some other stats, like you'll be able to see which copy abilities are most popular at any given time in the world on any given day. And, none of this is revolutionary by any means, but it is nice that it feels more like a little world than just like a Kirby game. But at the same time, I keep thinking about how much it's borrowing from other games or ideas we've seen before, and I don't think it's going to undercut the fun factor at all, but it does dampen a little the initial spark the teaser trailer gave me. Like, the whole post-apocalyptic aesthetic thing is cool, but rewatching the trailer, it seems a little more surface level maybe than I thought it would be. Like, there don't seem to be gameplay elements that actually relate to it. It's kind of just a backdrop. At least that's what it looks like. Like, there are a few shots in the new trailer that shows great scale and scope of Kirby walking through these like big, crazy environments, but like, are they just opening shots for otherwise normal kind of 3D land, 3D world levels, or is there anything deeper there? Like, I don't know. And I'm not saying it's a knock against it. Like, Mario Odyssey is one of my favorite games. Kirby's always a good time, so the marriage of them is one I'm looking forward to playing. It's just, I have questions, I guess, and I'm not sure if the way they built up the post-apocalyptic idea in that initial teaser is really as representative of anything in actuality as I thought it might be. Like, I don't know, there's just like, when I saw that, there's always possibilities like, oh, it'd be cool if you're like exploring all these like half-destroyed skyscrapers, and there's like verticality introduced to Kirby, and you have to actually use his flying a bit more, or like, maybe there's environmental elements you interact with, like maybe there's abandoned vehicles and stuff you control, kind of like how you can become the Robobot in Planet Robobot, or things like that, and zero of that was in the new trailer. It seems like they're just kind of like background settings, so I guess time will tell, but that's kind of where I'm at with it right now, is it looks like a fun time, but it doesn't look quite as like fresh or different as that initial trailer pointed it to maybe being, if that makes sense. So, time will tell. That's really kind of the motto.
One of the problems of I guess, if being around in the gaming space for such
there's
a
also
long
that.
time.
There's also, yeah, because I was even saying like, this reminds me of this is that, this is pulled from here. It's like, yeah, for the
exactly, like literally
for
that,
a Kirby
exactly.
core audience of kids, like a lot of this is gonna feel fresh. Or if they're used to playing the 2D Kirby's, this is a step up, or like the side-scrolling Kirby's, it's for sure a step up. I don't know, I just thought I'd go a little bigger, but maybe that was just me saying unrealistic expectations, and we'll just have to wait. I mean, it's only 2 months. We'll see. I'll probably still buy it either way, but it's definitely, I'm sort of readjusting my expectations, I guess you could say. But yeah, the whole time will tell thing I was saying a minute ago, that's kind of the motto for everything going forward for 2022 at this point. Like, even looking at Nintendo's lineup, I said this a few episodes ago, but it's one of the few years we know a good chunk of it. We know there's Bayonetta 3, Advance Wars Reboot Camp, Splatoon 3, Breath of the Wild 2, Mario & Rabbids, Spark of Hope. Like, they're all sitting there on the docket. But when they come out, we just have to kind of wait and see. But there is one story circulating these past few weeks about another game that might make an appearance this year. Not release, just show up. Which is, of all things, Mario Kart 9. Can you believe it? Nintendo's developing a sequel to one of their biggest games. What? Who would have thought? And supposedly it has a quote-unquote new twist. Who would have thought? Any guesses what that means in terms of a new twist for Mario Kart?
I mean, I hope they mean that literally. That'd be...
You literally
fun
fuse two characters together.
A whole new meaning to Double Dash. I liked your tweet, Kevin, that it's going to be 9 characters per cart for Mario Kart 9.
Can you imagine?
That'd be chaos.
Oh my god, the possibilities.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping it means, if it's something serious, it's like a single-player adventure mode a la Diddy Kong Racing or Crash Nitro Kart or something like that. Crash Team Racing, but...
Crash Team Racing.
Yeah. But I think, Angel, you made a good point when we were talking about this. I think we were talking about on Twitter that, like, it literally could be absolutely nothing. Because technically, every Mario Kart has had a twist, right?
Nothing as in nothing would be the
twist?
No.
I mean, like 8 was like gravity. Well, Angel, you explained it. It was your point.
Wait, what do you mean?
Remember when we were talking about, when I was tweeting about this and you're like, no, but like it's probably going to be like gravity or like a hang glider or like something that really doesn't actually change anything.
Oh, well, yeah, like Mario Kart hasn't really been very inspired, I would say, since like Mario Kart 7. They're still amazingly fun games. Super tight controls and everything. It like always feels refined, but the gimmicks themselves have just felt very whatever's to me. Like Mario Kart, like going from what do we have before Mario Kart 7? And don't say
DS.
6 because
It was
Oh no,
Wii.
Wii.
right?
Yeah, it was Wii. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Wii.
And then DS.
Before that, DS. Before that,
Double Dash.
Yeah.
Which was the biggest twist of the bunch, probably.
Yeah, that's the only one that really had a twist. I mean, like going from, I guess even Double Dash to DS. I mean, honestly, the biggest twist was probably something that wasn't even intended, which was just snaking. Because I feel like the game is just like, I just remember that game for its snaking and not even so much for literally anything else. If there was a new actual gimmick into Mario Kart DS, I don't remember it.
Online?
Because I just remember like the exploit with the drifting. Yeah.
Oh, and
exactly.
and you could put custom art
that's-
on your cart, which Nintendo regretted within minutes of launching that game.
Oh, yeah. But I guess I don't count any of that since that doesn't affect
Well,
actual
online does.
gameplay.
Of course, online affects gameplay.
I mean, I
That's a
guess.
huge to be able to play Mario Kart online for the first time in 2004. That was a huge deal.
He's talking
No,
about
I'm
like the
talking about,
like-
core,
Okay, fair.
the
Okay.
core.
Yeah,
like it doesn't change how I'm actually controlling
Fair,
the
okay.
game. I mean, if I'm racing a CPU, it's no different than I'm racing someone online.
Yeah,
Like,
I get what you mean.
yeah.
In terms of
I mean,
mechanics,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Something that should be there, but yeah, it doesn't impact gameplay. Yeah, like 7 to 8. I mean, yeah, even when they announced 7 and they're like, oh, cool, got hang glider and underwater sections.
Did nothing.
Like when they first revealed that, like I remember like for a couple of moments thinking like, oh, that's gonna be cool, but then the rest of the trailer plays out and it's like, oh, like you're barely doing that for like more than a couple seconds and then it's over, and even then like it doesn't really add much to it. It was just, I guess, an excuse to have. It was just an excuse to make their level designs more creative, which is appreciated. But yeah, ultimately, the gameplay saved it. Mario Kart 8 added the gravity mechanic, which I felt like was barely even there. It made them design crazier looking levels, but when you're playing them, you don't even really notice like that you're upside down because the camera always stays like level with you. It's only when you look at a replay that you're like, oh, that's right. This is a trippy looking level. So yeah, so I don't really have my hopes up. I'm gonna expect something as minimal as possible. I don't know what that would be, but yeah, I kind of wish they were a little more like Sega in that regard. But then again, like they need to learn from each other. Like Sega needs to chill and maybe not make every single sequel vastly different from the last, so they can actually learn from them. Like I felt they had a really good thing going with Sonic Racing Transformed, and instead of like building on that idea in a sequel, they went with Sonic Team Racing, which had some good points, but overall it just felt like a inferior version to Sonic Racing Transformed. Like I barely touched it, and I played the heck out of Sonic Racing Transformed. Whereas Nintendo, I feel, is just playing it way too safe. So yeah, we need like some kind of middle ground for both of these companies.
Yeah, and I do think to some degree this prediction that came about that there's going to be a Mario Kart, and this came from an analyst who does follow Nintendo Beat very closely, a guy named Dr. Sirkin Toto. But, him being like, oh yeah, they're developing the next entry in their biggest selling franchise and it will have, quote unquote, a new twist. Like, that literally can mean anything. So yeah, even the new twist, ideally, yeah, it should be more than just like a gravity thing, but you're probably right. That's probably all it's going to be. But what struck me as weird about this story is both kind of how pointless it was and interesting at the same time. Because, like, on the one hand, the real story would be if Nintendo wasn't making a sequel, and like we were just saying, like every Mario Kart has some sort of new element to it. So that part, take it or leave it. But what I found kind of interesting about the story is the timing of when this new Mario Kart may happen. Like, if this analyst has his sourcing correct, and he does have a decent track record for the most part, it would mean we'll see Mario Kart 9 this year, and it would then be released next year, which timing-wise could imply a couple things. Number one, Nintendo may actually be comfortable releasing 2 mainline Mario Karts on one platform for the first time ever. Traditionally, they've let Mario Kart be an evergreen until the death of the platform. Then they launched the next, following system, and they released the following entry on that system. But already, this pattern's a little out of whack. Switch technically has 2 Mario Karts because it has 8 and it has Mario Kart Live Home Circuit. And 8 was already a port from a past system to begin with. So if they hypothetically want to do a proper Mario Kart 9, it has been enough years and there is enough audience that maybe they could get people a double dip. I mean, the $100 Mario Kart Live with that physical RC car still managed to be a million seller. So imagine what a full normal sequel that's at regular price and doesn't require you to take over a room to play it. Like, imagine what that could do. But it also brings up interesting possibility number 2, which is that Mario Kart could serve as another bridge between 2 console generations. Because, this Dr. Toto guy was saying the game will be teased this year and then released next year. So we could then eventually see a deluxe version on the Switch 2 in, say, 2024, maybe the year after it comes out on Switch. Because the fact of the matter is, the double dip worked. All the diehard Nintendo fans bought on the Wii U, then again on the Switch, like 18 months later. And really, like, Switch is turning 5 this year. The reveal of the Switch the anniversary of it was this past week, 5 years ago. And, the OLED model is boosting sales short term. There's no doubt, even with that, Nintendo's still looking at future iteration longer term. That's in the same way that there's no doubt they're developing a new Mario Kart. Of course, they're working on the next system. And they have said that they want Switch to live longer than their other console cycles traditionally have lasted. But here's the thing. A 7-year run of 2017 to 2024 would be that. GameCube was only 2001 to 2006. Wii was only 2006 to 2012. Wii U was 2012 to not even that far into 2017. Those are all a 5 to 6 year range at best. Switch is going to be at 7 by 2024. And it can still live on as a budget system for 3-ish years after that. The Game Boy Advance did after the DS came out. The DS did after the 3DS came out. The 3DS did after the Switch came out. It's like it kind of makes sense that they were to replicate 8 and get the double dip of sales, which was like still a few million on the past system. Mario Kart 9 may just be starting us down that road again and getting us to that successor system. And, if they were to do the double dip, there's precedence. We have seen it before. So I don't know if this is like me it's obviously me spitballing, but I don't know if there's any shred of reality of this. Like, do you guys think there's any chance, or is this basically a non-star of a report for you? Like, do you think Mario Kart's actually going to show up this year in any capacity, or do you think this guy's just spinning his wheels? No pun intended.
Damn, it's barely January. How would I say, I don't know if I see any room for another Mario Kart this year, considering how well Mario Kart 8 is still doing. But who knows? I have no idea. I mean, this is going to be a Splatoon 3
and a
year.
Breath of the Wild 2 year.
Not sure what other kind of big multiplayer. Oh yeah, there's that thing. Not sure what other major multiplayer game they might come out with.
That's a good point. They don't have a Smash
to
promote,
Arms,
so they only have one multiplayer game this year in the form of Splatoon, like you said. That's actually a really good point. So if they did want to tease, hey, your multiplayer party system's going to have a new game soon, doing this in the back half of the year could help sort of set that tone. That's a good point. I think the one thing we could...
I could see a quarter 3, quarter 4 announcement with a quarter 2 2023 release date.
Yeah, and that would kind of,
assuming COVID hasn't taken us all.
Assuming we're all alive, yeah, and that would kind of mirror when Mario Kart 8, both versions of Mario Kart 8 came out. I think they both came out in May-ish of their respective years. So yeah, if they did like a Q2 release, that's right there with precedence. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I do think you're spot on that we're not going to see it anytime, and both of you are spot on that it's not going to show up in the first half of the year or anytime that soon. I mean, definitely, the obvious would be, they'd show it at E3, but yeah, I think that would cannibalize the sales way too early. Because, if Mario Kart is still topping the charts, why would they reveal it that early in the year and then sit on it for almost a year? So I think you're right, it'd be the tail end. But also because E3's dead. So they're not going to show it at E3 probably, because there is no E3. So unless you guys have any other thoughts on Mario Kart, to sort of transition to that final topic before we get to our anniversary series about Street Fighter. E3, RIP. Officially, what the organizing body at the the Entertainment Software Association, ESA, there we go, what they're saying is that due to Omicron and the fact that we may all be dead and the increased risk around COVID, they're not holding an in-person E3 this year, which seems pretty cut and dry. That's exactly what we saw in 2020, for better or worse. But where things get a little weird is that the ESA couldn't confirm any date or plans for a digital E3 showcase, which they did last year, and we've seen Jeff Keighley do with Summer Game Fest the past 2 years, and he's already confirmed it's back this year. So that's a little strange that the E3 folk are not just saying it's not physical, they won't even say if it's digital. And then on top of that, some insiders are saying that the ESA wasn't going to have E3 at any point this year, whether or not Omicron happened, and that was just an excuse. Because according to them, who have spoken with the likes of IGN and I believe VGC and a few other publications, the Los Angeles Convention Center never had firm dates reserved for E3. And as far back as last fall, there were some rumblings within the organization that plans weren't moving forward. Usually by now, folks are already in the planning stages of any show, physical or digital. ESA hadn't begun any of that. So it seems like E3 is just dead. This is a good excuse, but we may not see E3 again, which is, for me, personally, a bummer. I like going and seeing the spectacle of it all and being able to deliver impressions here on the show. But what about you guys? Does this faze you at all? Do you care that E3 might be a thing of the past?
Yeah. Literally that didn't impact me whatsoever. I already wasn't going to E3. I had the chance to go once. It was awesome. I think I went one more time after. But yeah, I was satisfied. Yeah, it makes sense that it's happening. Not expecting it to come back. No, yeah, not really bummed one way or the other.
Kevin?
If this was, let's say, high school Kevin learning that E3 was canceled, yeah, it'd be a bummer. Present Kevin, these last couple of E3s have been pretty lackluster. Yeah. So, it is what it is. Jeff, being the ruthless businessman that he is, and upon learning this, tweeting out that Summer Games Festival was still happening.
Oh, yeah, he did it within 15 minutes. It was amazing. He had the assets at the ready and just was like, all right, here we go. And
animal.
And that's kind of the thing is, there are things that are kind of replacing E3, like all the stuff Jeff Keighley does with Summer Game Fest or with the Game Awards. Like, I feel like, to your point about the last E3s being kind of lackluster, the writing has been on the wall for quite a while now, even pre-COVID. Because, Sony pulled out everything first-party PlayStation. That was a big hit to E3, and it's how it represents the industry. Nintendo did their own virtual presentations for years that didn't need E3's help in a real way. The fact that going into E3 2020 before it got canceled, they're doing that weird thing where they're trying to orient the show around content creators and celebrity appearances because so many companies now have their own channels and methods for getting the word out. I think it was a matter of time. And I do think the longer that E3 goes without that physical presence, the harder it is going to be for them to come back because more companies are honing their Nintendo Direct type strategies. Folks like Jeff Keighley have really gone to establish their own thing. Because, him having the assets ready and being able to kind of troll E3 like that required having the knowledge that he has the companies and the show and everything lined up to be able to do that. So he's kind of stepping in. The Game Awards are kind of stepping in. It didn't help that when E3 tried to compete with these now established players like Keighley's stuff, they completely botched it. Like last year when they tried to do a digital E3 in tandem with the Game Awards, with Summer Game Fest, they had their own organized thing. They had an app you could use. Nothing really worked in the app. The schedule wasn't there. Half the news that happened during E3 was either Summer Game Fest or just companies on their own that were just like, oh, it's the week we're going to announce things. Okay. There wasn't a need for the E3 name. And I think that really speaks to E3 as a brand and an organization. Just in the face of more modern options, it's done. It's dead. It is what it is, I guess. I guess I'm grateful I was able to go when I was.
If there is
what was that?
Oh, no,
I was just going to say I'm grateful I was able to go when I was and for as many times as I could. Because E3 as an institution was video game mecca at one point. And there are other events that capture parts of that experience. The Game Awards as the centralized event, the PAX or Comic-Con as gatherings for fans and enthusiasts. But yeah, I think the sheer spectacle, the scope, and the unreasonable amount of money that was poured into E3 and its after parties and all that, we're not going to get that again. There's no reason to get that again. Companies see you don't need to spend that money. So that kind of sucks as someone who enjoyed being on the receiving end of all of it. But I get it. Just the reality of our times. What were you going to say, Kevin?
If there's one aspect that I will miss from E3, it's not from the show directly. I am what is known as a react frog, where I will see other people reacting to events. And so I'm going to miss Giant Bomb reacting to the Ubisoft press conference every year. Kind of funny being bored by the EA conference. I'm going to miss that kind of stuff. But I'm gonna miss seeing videos of people losing their minds when inevitably a brand new, I don't know, Dark Souls game gets announced. So I'll miss that kind of
I
stuff.
feel like those will still be there though, because like as they do digital presentations.
My bad. So that'll still
but not
happen,
at the scale.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, digital presentation, but not 5 press conferences at a time. When you have Microsoft one day, Bethesda and Ubisoft the next day, that kind of thing.
And that kind of folds back into like the spectacle thing I was saying, because like what was so fun about E3 being here in LA and covering it for the podcast and all is like going to all that. Like the year where I'd like do, what was it? I think thanks to Angel randomly winning tickets, I went to like the Xbox press conference one day, and then the next morning, the morning before we were at Nintendo for a tournament, and that afternoon. Then the next day I was at Microsoft, and the next day I was at the show floor. Then the day after that I was at like the show floor plus like a Twitter after party, and it kept just like stacked. It's like this like full week of activity. And whether you're doing it in person and bragging like I am, or remotely and watching, not having that like, it's like Super Bowl week for video games, it's Christmas week, like not having that like centralized like thing does take some of the shine away for sure. Yeah. And Summer Game Fest does it a little, but it's so like kind of loose and up to the publishers that very few are going to be the same day. So it's still going to be like you get one a day, but it's like, oh, you get a 45-minute pre-record video today and then 45-minute pre-record video tomorrow, and then you're done. Like it's not quite the same level of like chaos, controlled chaos, I guess you could call it. And that's what really made E3, I feel like.
Rest in peace, E3.
It was a good run. Stuff of legends. We'll be able to tell our grandkids one day we went to this video game thing, and they'll be like, what? I just go into the metaverse. What are you talking about? But bygone era. But let's end on a more chipper note, shall we? Because 2022 isn't just the year E3 maybe died for good, or the year that Nintendo's a lot of games coming out that we don't really know anything about. It's also an anniversary year for a lot of great franchises. Kirby being one of them. Nintendo's promising festivities to come at a later time for its 30th. But also Street Fighter, which is apparently a big enough of an anniversary at 35 years that Masahiro Sakurai and his entire Smash Bros. Team have already relented on their plan to never update Smash Bros. Ultimate again. This weekend, Evil Ryu has joined the Spirit Collection in the game in celebration of the anniversary, even though they said that wasn't going to happen.
Did that count?
They said they were done with all updates, and then 2 weeks later, a month later, Evil Ryu showed up. So it's not a huge thing, but still, they did say the game was done, and now it's undone. But yeah, Street Fighter is kicking off, I guess, our latest batch of anniversary series, where for those who aren't familiar, we kind of just on again, off again as we have time, reflect on the legacy and our experiences with a given franchise. It's Street Fighter's time, and Angel, I feel like you, this is more your speed maybe than Kevin or mine. You're the Street Fighter dude, so what has the series meant to you over these last however many years?
It's weird because I don't really consider myself a street. Well, I don't know. I'm weird. I'm not. I definitely have a lot of admiration for the franchise. I'm a huge fan of the franchise, but I've really only played Street Fighter 4 3D Edition. That's like the one I've probably put the most time into as far as like an actual Street Fighter game. Most of my time is definitely spent watching, just tournaments. I love the competitive scene of Street Fighter. It's like probably one of my favorite things about it. And what always kept me coming back to the series is to watching Evos, watching Capcom Cups, watching whatever random stream I could find that has Daigo or Justin Wong or these like greats like playing Street Fighter. And as a result, it made me fan of a lot of the characters, a lot of the lore, surprisingly. And yeah, I think it definitely started with Street Fighter 4 3D Edition, because up until that point, we had Street Fighter 2 on like the Super Nintendo and like its 80 different variations. And then we didn't really have a lot on Nintendo for a while. Like Street Fighter 3 skipped out on it completely. And then GameCube, I don't remember much at all. Outside of, but maybe there were some re-releases of
I don't even know if we got
Street
that.
Fighter 2?
GameCube was
GameCube
shunned when it came to like 2D Capcom games. Like it got the Capcom 5 and I think like a Mega Man Battle Network side scroller, but like besides that, they did not bring anything to it.
Yeah, it just seemed kind of dry. Like eventually I got myself a PS3 and I was playing, games parallel to Street Fighter, the Capcom family of fighting games, like your Marvel vs. Capcoms. That was a ton of fun. But then Nintendo eventually got Tatsunoko vs. Capcom, which was also really fun and awesome. But yeah, like I love that Street Fighter, like, just over the years, and even, like, going into Street Fighter 5, which I only briefly played, but as I mentioned, definitely watched a ton of. Like, I guess it's kind of like Mario Kart, except where overall the gameplay stays the same. You're doing Hadoukens the same way you have been since, like, the 80s or 90s or whenever Street Fighter 2 came out. But the rest, like, changes just enough that makes every game feel very unique. From just adding a parry system in Street Fighter 2 to adding a super in Street Fighter... adding a parry in Street Fighter 3 to adding a super in Street Fighter 2 to adding the focus meter in Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 5, kind of changing the way you do defensive plays with your V skills and critical arts. Like, yeah, it's definitely a game that has just evolved pretty nicely over the years. And definitely gotta give it props for that. But, oh man, and I think like my biggest, I guess, I don't even know what to call it, disappointment with the franchise is probably just the fact that Ryu got spoiled or, leaked for the Smash reveal the day before he came out. Because that trailer would have been...
You would have lost your mind at 7 a.m. standing in line for whatever Nintendo E3 event we were standing in line for.
Yeah, because like I mentioned, like, even if I didn't really play Street Fighter competitively, like, I guess at that point I was like to Street Fighter what like a hardcore Lakers fan is to Lakers. Just really following the sport, following the characters, both the lore and the
the lore,
real life,
the Laker lore where they do off season. That's it. I mean, it's somewhat accurate. I get what you mean. People follow like what the players are up to, but yeah.
Yeah, but it's been interesting.
Kevin, were you much into the like 2D button combo fighters like Street Fighter?
Yeah, I'd say I played a good amount of the Street Fighters. I played, like, I remember playing 2 at one of the restaurants nearby that still had arcade cabinets. I've always liked the Street Fighter games, but I'm just not a huge not a Street Fighter person. I'm just not the best fighting game person. So like I tried out Street Fighter 4 when they did their arcade edition update. I believe when Super Street Fighter 4 came out. I played that one because that one had a brand new character named Jury, and I was a huge simp for her, to the point where I made myself a custom Jury shirt, like
really?
Online. That was cool.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I played Street Fighter Cross Tekken. Man, remember that game? Because I was also a really big Tekken fan, and so I gave that game a shot. And once again, I have fun with these games, but I'm just not good at them. And then Street Fighter 5 was when I finally tried to get good at them, like right from the beginning. But once again, I have fun with them, but all my friends are really good fighting game players. Elvis is good at them. Angel's good at them. We have our friend Celso, who's really good at them. Our friend Daniel, who's really good at them. So like, I can just never have fun with them because they'll just cream me. But yeah, I like the games. My favorite Street Fighter memory is actually from Street Fighter 5, where me and a few friends, we went to a music festival in Phoenix, Arizona. And we got this beautiful Airbnb, and we took a PS4. And we came back from the festival maybe around, I don't know, maybe around 11 to midnight-ish. And me and Celso started to play Street Fighter 5. And we played for 5 straight hours. I don't even think we switched characters, which was funny. Yeah. I played Cammy the entire time. I don't remember what he played. But yeah, we just played for 5 straight hours. I remember Elvis actually messaging us like, wow, you guys are still playing? I remember people coming into the living room and looking at us like, you guys are still playing this game? You guys have been playing for 4 hours. We were just having a grand time. We were just messing around with each other. We were trash talking each other. Alcohol and pride might have played a huge part in why we played it for 5 straight hours, but man, I loved it. Yeah. The series doesn't mean much to me, but I still have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of in your boat, Ken, that one, all my friends are good at fighting games except me. Wait, but that means we each have a friend that's not good at fighting games, each other. But besides each other, yeah, same boat. And also, I just like the...
I mean, I'm pretty sure I could destroy you in any fighting game, though.
Yeah, you could. Because that's the other thing, is I'm just bad at the button combos, like just the all of that. But I do appreciate, like, it is fun to play casually. Like, I've always had fun fighting games casually with friends. But I do appreciate Street Fighter's legacy, I feel like. Because I feel like Street Fighter kind of... It wasn't by itself, but it was a big part in birthing sort of what fighting games became and how they worked and led to things like Tekken and whatnot and other things. And in a way, Smash, but like it all kind of comes down to Street Fighter in many ways and that era of fighting games and just creating that entire genre and what it has led to, and just the fact that you see Capcom continue to sort of toy with that legacy in different ways where they do different crossover games. Like, they have one where they went head to head with SNK and they did Capcom versus SNK, or they have the Marvel versus Capcoms, or they have like what was the one on the Wii, the anime one, Tatsunoko versus Capcom? Yeah. So like they had all, like, it was cool to see them kind of have this formula, hone it so well, iterate on it so much that they'd make like 6 of the same game essentially, but then start to just sort of absorb other things and sort of bridge gap. You mentioned Street Fighter versus Tekken, Cross Tekken. Like, that was really cool because Tekken was, I would say to some extent, the first game that sort of put the Street Fighter mechanic formula on the Z-axis and made it 3D. So it's cool to see like Street Fighter kind of give respect to Tekken, and Tekken kind of like, pay homage to its legacy, and just like that legacy of Street Fighter, I think it's just so interwoven in so much of gaming that it's just, that's cool to see that, it was able to have that sort of staying power and become what it became. So, but I'm really bad at it, and I don't have very, very many specific memories. But I guess as a kid, I do remember I always used to like playing as Blanca. Like when I'd be in an arcade, like Cyber Station, which was actually owned by Namco, or things like that as a kid. And I did play Street Fighter. I'd always be Blanca because I always thought he kind of looked like the Hulk. So that's my one memory. But yeah, I was really bad at it. But it's a franchise worthy of its praise. It changed gaming in a lot of ways, especially the arcade scene. So props to it for doing what it did. It's kind of where I stand on it. But yeah, unless there's anything else you guys want to touch on Street Fighter, I think that's it. I think we're done here with the whole episode. I mean, yeah. So we'll be back in 2 weeks' time on January 30th with another episode full of news and games. And I promise not a second Bidoof analysis. That was a one and done for now. But to make sure you don't miss what news and games and whatnot we're talking about, you can subscribe to us on whatever podcasting app you use. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio. We're on YouTube. RamNintendo.com is the name. We are on Twitter at RamNintendo. And that's how you can make sure you don't miss any of that or any of the random non-Tendos we're up to. We may or may not have one next week. But if you missed last week's, we did the Quarantinis, our yearly awards of everything we like beyond Nintendo. So check that out if you haven't. You can also follow us individually on Twitter. I'm JSR7. Angel is Wero, WERRO_O. Kevin is KVN Gomi. And that same Kevin now has the final word.
Apparently, there is a restaurant chain in Canada called Beaver Tails. So now you know that.